Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dishing with Diamonds, and I am thrilled to have my friend Heather Burke with us. Heather and I actually ranked to Diamond in the very same month, and so I just feel like we're kindred in many ways. We joined about the same time. Our journeys pretty much mirrored one another through our 12 or so, well, my 12 months, and I think you started maybe slightly before I did.
Yeah, I think I was like 3 months before, but not much. I mean, I wasn't really doing much those 3 months.
That's right. And so we're going to let Heather talk all about, or tell us all about her. But first, I just want to introduce Heather Burke, who lives in Oklahoma. So please welcome, Heather.
Thanks.
Yay. So what we're going to do, and this is, the team knows this, and they're just super professional at this by this point, but this is just a casual conversation between two friends talking about our experience in Plexus. They get to sit back with their drink of choice and just listen in. And so I just want you to be super comfortable. And if you have your drink of choice, you know, I have my water today. Usually it's a Slim.
I have my water.
Excellent. Yeah, usually it's my Slim, but I didn't plan accordingly. So see, Sadie comes by it honestly. She's not the only one that is a poor planner at times. But anyways, let's get started. So, okay, Heather, talk to me about what life looked like before Plexus.
Okay, so before Plexus, well, I always feel like when I describe my life before Plexus, it sounds kind of like dismal and awful. And the thing was, I was so content. Like, I was happy. It was just my life, and I felt like that's where God had put me. And I loved it. But the reality is I was sick all the time. I got every little bug that my kids brought home, which kind of equaled out to, you know, stomach bug 4 or 5 times a year, strep 3 times a year, flu at least once a year, you know. So you add all that up, I was sick all the time. I had 3 kids at the time. Bobby was a coach and a teacher, so he was gone a lot. He was softball coach and baseball coach and summer league coach, and he drove a bus. So he would leave a lot of times around 6 in the morning, and if it was in season, which was about 9 months of the year, he'd get home about 10 or 11 at night. So it felt like I was a single mom. I wasn't, but I just was on my own all the time trying to juggle the kids, which meant when I was sick all those times, I was solo and no energy. Given the fact that he was a teacher and a coach, finances were pretty tight. I worked from home for my stepdad. So it was enough to kind of help pay the bills, but we were like, well, really, there was more bills than there was money each month. So things were tight. They were, you know, busy and crazy, but it was still good.
I mean, and, you know, and I love how you said that, you know, when we describe life before Plexus, it does seem like things were dismal or just that gray cloud over us, but
Right.
But we learn to be happy in those moments. But then looking back, you know, you can say, oh, wow, I was sick all the time, or wow, we had more month than money, or, you know, did I quote that right, y'all? I'm the queen of botching up quotes, so.
No, but I think that's right.
Okay, good. Okay, awesome. So how did you get introduced to Plexus?
Okay, so Jen Hawkins, who's my sponsor, I watched her start posting. I feel like it was around June or July of 2012 was when I started seeing her post. And I was one of those silent observers. So when people talk about those people, you know, like, don't freak out if people are not liking your post. Don't freak out if they're not commenting. Don't freak out if they're not messaging you. I was that person. I was not saying anything. I was just watching. So I was reading the testimonies. You know, back then we had more testimonies on Facebook. And I was just kind of intrigued. So I would watch her. I actually did one time, she gave away a sample, and I took the sample and did one day of it and told her it wasn't for me. I was that person. I have no idea why either. I look back and I'm like, why did I only take one day? I have no idea. I think maybe it was more fear, just because I knew I couldn't afford it, you know, or so I thought. So I just watched her, and then they did the New Year's Eve special, and I was actually getting over the flu. Bobby was already in bed. It was about 10 o'clock at night on New Year's Eve. My kids were all getting over the flu, and I was sitting there and reading the testimonies and seeing the special, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm just going to try it, because what if, And then, as soon as I jumped in, I thought, oh my gosh, what did I do? But it was just kind of a impulsive leap, and sick of feeling the way I'd felt.
Okay, so you joined that, so it was late December.
It was New Year's Eve.
Okay,
so it was actually New Year's Eve 2012, about 10 o'clock at night.
So basically January of 13
yes,
is when you were like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into?
Yep.
So how long did it take before you started, quote, working the business?
Well, it was one of those things I told Jen I was not going to work, and I meant it. I had been doing another MLM. It was a jeans MLM, go figure, before then, and it had been a lot of work with not a lot of reward. So when I said I wasn't going to work it, I meant it. And then when I got my welcome pack in, I started taking the products, and I had ordered the Slim Accelerator, and I just started feeling good, and I had energy, and I wasn't taking naps, and I had been taking naps every day. And so it became normal for me. Oh, one other thing. She had put me in groups, like all the team pages, everything, even though I said I wasn't going to work. So I was reading, and I was reading the, financial testimonies and everything. And I started thinking, well, if it could work like this for these people, why couldn't it for me? But when I felt better, it just became natural to share the testimonies I saw and share all of that. Even though I was scared, I still did it. So it was not, maybe the first week I got my welcome pack, just right when I started feeling good was when I started just posting. I didn't know at all what I was talking about, but I was posting.
Isn't that awesome? I think that's sometimes the beauty of when we started, and it's something that I try to remind our team of often, is that we didn't have all this amazing training.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
From our heart.
We figured it out on your own.
Yep, we figured it out. Exactly. And so I think there's a beauty in that, and not to discount where we are today. We have all this training, all this amazingness. I told you, real life, y'all. So, hold on. So sorry.
You're fine.
So sorry. Real life. Hi, Steve. Yeah. Hi, Steve. Anyways, okay. So, like my 43-year-old brain, I forgot what I was saying. So anyways, but just the beauty of not having the training,
right.
Sharing from our heart. And I love that you said that you just started posting because you started feeling better. And if you were able to do anything, it was share how others were feeling, and then how you were feeling. And
yes,
kind of naturally in business, right?
Yeah. It just worked.
So, okay. Go ahead.
Uh-huh. Oh, I don't remember. My 38-year-old brain.
There you go. It's a real deal. It's happening earlier now in life. Okay. So you start sharing. Now walk me through maybe the timeline of your business. How you ranked up to diamond, basically.
Okay, so the first 3 months I was sharing and not much was happening. But the thing was, I was sharing other people's stories. I wasn't really sharing mine. And then anyone that knows much of our story knows that in that time frame, we also got my daughter Josie. We were foster parents, so we got her. And then she got sick. So about March, she was sick, and she was in the hospital for 10 days. And while I was there, that was when I finally decided to share my story. So I just got really vulnerable and shared some things that people didn't necessarily know about me, such as like my battles with postpartum anxiety and things like that, and just anxiety in general, and different things that I battled that I noticed I felt were improved. Again, we can't really do it as much anymore to the degree we did. We just didn't know. And so I shared that, and by sharing my journey and the things I'd overcome and the things I'd experienced, and just even the feelings of having energy, because so many moms don't feel that, and they think that's normal. I thought it was normal. I just thought that was life. by sharing that, I was able to connect with people and they started messaging me. And that was the week that I went silver. And so I had no ambassadors up to that point. So I actually signed 5 people that week. So just sharing my journey, you know, and connecting with people over things that were hard, that were not really Facebook pretty, and putting them out there, that really was what opened up my business. So in March, that week was when I went silver. I got quite a few customers, had really good PV that month. And then in June was when I went gold. And then it was one of those lightning fast journeys right then. It was June gold, senior gold in July, ruby and senior ruby in August, emerald in October, sapphire in January, and diamond in April. So it was really fast. It was a blur. We also got Zoe in that time frame. So I don't remember a lot of it. And a lot of times people are like, what do you mean you don't remember? And I'm like, 2013 and the beginning of 2014 just flew by. I don't really know what happened.
Well, I mean, that, you know, I identify with that so much because it was very fast. And I feel like our timelines were just right on the way you were describing. I think the only difference was I went sapphire in February instead of January. And then, as you know, we both went diamond in April, and that was really cool. So,
I love it.
I know, right? I love that we have that connection always. So how do you stay motivated? So you're on your 4-year anniversary almost next month. That's crazy. So how do you continue to stay motivated in what we do?
Really, it's just the stories of my team. It doesn't get old to me hearing how someone feels good again and they didn't think they were ever going to. It doesn't get old to me to hear how someone was able to pay a bill that the month before they didn't think they would be able to. Just those stories of health freedom or financial freedom, those keep me motivated. I mean, anytime things even feel difficult, when I get back to the basics and really look at everyone's stories, that motivates me and that drives me because I want more people to feel that way.
I love that. And it's so true. I think at the end of the day, what is the heartbeat of what we do is the testimonies, is the story.
Absolutely.
And I don't want that to be limiting to our team. You know, I want you to remember that you can still cast your story. You may have to be a little bit more general, but the beauty of that is we're able to maybe capture more people, because if you say something like, hey, I suffered from postpartum depression, well, you may have just lost everybody who hadn't suffered. Right? So we're going to silver.
I felt feelings of hopelessness that I couldn't overcome, and now I don't feel that. A lot of people can identify.
Absolutely. And you know, who hasn't felt hopeless, especially us from mamas at some point. I know I have, you know, like just a few seconds ago. I mean, you're so mean, you won't do my hair. Oh, really? So, okay, do you have a motivational phrase that inspires you or kind of just keeps you chugging along?
So I don't know that it's so much a phrase as much of a core belief from what I've seen just in life. And it's just that every part of our journey, the good and the bad, it makes us who we are and it helps us inspire other people. So I just try to believe that hard parts of my business, hard parts of my personal journey, hard parts of my health, all of that stuff is something that's going to connect with someone else and minister to them and encourage them. So it's not really a motivational quote, but just a belief that everything we go through is for a purpose, and that even though a lot of times it stinks and you can't see it right then, if you're willing to, it can be something that will benefit someone else. So
it
helps me get through the bad.
Yeah, absolutely. But it all counts, right? I mean,
it all counts.
At the end of the day, it all counts. So, okay. This question, I'm going to just preface it because I know that depending on who we're talking to, this conversation can look very different. But how do you, let's say it's not somebody that you're super close with, it's more of a new relationship. How do you invite somebody to Plexus? Number one, do you lead with the business or the products? And number two, just a general overview of what that conversation may look like.
Okay. So I have to preface this with, I am an introvert. So just jumping right in there has never been natural for me. I'm more of a relationship builder, which has worked well for me. So if it's someone that I don't really know very well, that's where I start. I just start with trying to get to know them, which means asking them lots of questions and listening, truly listening to what they're telling me. And then that's where I know where to start. I know that if I need to start with the products or the business, because if you're listening to what they're telling you, they're going to show you where you need to start, I believe. I mean, if they're talking about how they can't pay bills or anything, or they don't know how they're going to provide Christmas for their family, or, fill in the blank, I know that they need the business like yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so I can naturally bring it up with I used to feel that way. I'm so thankful that I don't anymore, which tends to lead them to ask me why. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a natural opening. And then if they're talking about health issues, a lot of times it's health issues I've battled. I can say the same thing. I used to deal with that all the time. Oh my goodness, I do not miss those days. I'm so thankful I found the answer for me. And then they'll want to know what the answer is. So it just naturally opens up a way to talk about our products. But it's just about connecting with the person and listening to what they're telling me. And then that shows me where I need to go on how to lead.
I love that. And, I appreciate the fact that you've shared you're listening. You're, you're probably doing more listening than talking. And then,
absolutely.
Right. And then you know how to present. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, yesterday, I'm going to give y'all a quick example because we're on the topic and it's fresh. I was at the grocery store yesterday, and literally the grocery store is maybe 5 minutes from my house. I should have been home definitely within an hour. My husband calls me at 2 hours and say, okay, which grocery store did you choose to go to? I ended up working at the grocery store. I say working because I ended up getting in a great conversation with a gal in the produce section. She was looking for a 5-pound bag of potatoes, and I held up my bag and said, oh, this is a 5-pound bag. And so that sparked a conversation of, what are you making mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving? Yes. I said, oh, how do you make your potatoes? And so we just start talking. We are not talking anything Plexus. And then I realized I got to get home. And so I was like, hey, look, I love talking to you. We're in a small town, and everybody kind of when you go to the grocery store, you run into somebody Right. And I said, I'd love to continue this. I said, you're so precious. I'm not even necessarily thinking Plexus at that point. I just genuinely thought she was precious. And so I handed her my card, and I said, here's my card. Let's friend each other on Facebook right now because I'll forget. And she says, oh my gosh, Plexus. She said, I need to talk to you.
Awesome.
That simple. And so sure enough, y'all, I followed up with her, and I'm just sharing this as an example. I didn't even mention anything in Plexus when I followed up with her because, again, that initial connection was, even though she said, I need to talk to you about Plexus, I followed up with her and just said, hey, I so enjoyed meeting you at the store. Here's that recipe I promised you. And
that's awesome. That's perfect.
Right? So again, I'm putting her first, I know she needs Plexus. I am going to follow up with her about that, but that's not, again, the first thing we're going to talk about, right? And so in that message back, she's like, don't forget, I need to talk to you about Plexus. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, let's set up a time to do that. So I really, even though obviously it's my business, it's important to me, I made her more important than my business.
Yes.
Right? So anyway, so that was, that I'm just clicking on your heels of how, what that conversation, A, listening to somebody, but B, how you can put somebody before the business. And it was very genuine. So, okay, talk to me about some business tips. Give me like 3.
Well, that's funny because my first one was going to be authenticity. People, they know, like they can tell if you are trying to connect with them because you want to sell, or they can tell if you're trying to connect with them because you genuinely want to. And so the key is, I believe, and it's business and it's personal, is to be authentic and truly, truly, truly want to get to know the person. And then my second was actually going to be listening. So it's kind of funny that that's exactly what we were saying. It's just listening to what they're really saying, because people are going to paint a picture for you, and they're going to tell you what they need, and they're going to tell you everything you need to know about them if you will listen. But do it authentically. Don't be listening just to get a sale. Be listening because you care about changing the life of this person. And it might not be Plexus for some people. I think for most people it can be, but for some people, it might just be they need someone. So listening, being authentic, and then being willing to step outside of your comfort zone, because the fact that I am an introvert is very awkward a lot of times for me to just rip the Band-Aid off and go ahead and mention Plexus. And that's where I've had to be like, this person needs it. I'm selfish if I keep it to myself. So I have to very frequently jump out of my comfort zone, and I have rarely, if ever, regretted it.
Awesome. I say that's kind of like exercise in church. There's times you just don't feel like going, but you never regret doing something for your body or your soul, right?
Exactly.
So, and I love that you have reminded everyone that you're introverted, and that even today, being at the very top of the company, you still are introverted, and you still push yourself out of your comfort zone. And
absolutely
self-talk, right? Like, hey, don't be selfish, share this.
Yes.
And I can even see you like, kind of building up like, oh yeah, I got to share this, and so I appreciate that. I'm like you in the fact that, so I ride the line on all personality tests. Like, I'm not extroverted. I'm not like, I ride the line. I'm slightly more extroverted than I am introverted, but I identify with being introverted because I'm that person who there are days that it's a push to, like you said, remind yourself, be bold, go share. You never know. Right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about how many, and this question, I think I need to rewrite it. How many level 1 runners do you have? So that doesn't necessarily mean how many rock stars, just how many personally sponsored people do you have that are currently today working the business?
Okay, so it's both Bobby and I working. So on mine, we have about 5, and on his, we have about 4. But that's out of maybe 80 total that we've ever signed. So it really is, a lot of times people think, well, I've signed 5 people and I don't have anyone that really wants it. Well, odds are you have to keep introducing the opportunity to people, because you really never know who it's going to be. And some of my people that were runners at the beginning, because like you said, it's been almost 4 years. I've had many people that were runners that are no longer runners. And then I have people that were some of the first people to join me that did really not much at the beginning that are now running. So it took them about 3 years, actually, for one of them. She was one of the people that, I think she was who got me to silver, actually.
Oh, wow.
And she just started running this past spring. So you never know. You never know what someone's going to do. It has to be the right time for them.
Absolutely. You never know, and never give up on people is what
Absolutely.
I always say, and it is a numbers game for sure. In the way that you never know, but some of us get very fortunate, and in the beginning we get somebody who's willing, maybe a couple somebodies who's willing to run with us. Who was it? Was it Julia Carty that it was like 43 people before she actually got her first person who really ran with her, did something with the business?
I believe that. I've seen that happen so many times. People that get to gold really just with the people they sponsor. It's not anything with their team building. It's really just them. And then they can almost get to senior gold the same way. And I've seen at times being like, when are they going to get someone that just really takes off? But it really is. It's just a numbers game. You just keep going. And I think the lesson also in the fact that I've had people that were really runners at the beginning and that stopped is you can't quit adding either, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future for each of these people. You do not know what is going to happen in their lives. And sometimes people get distracted and forget that they wanted to run, So it's very important to keep growing your business as well.
obsessed with Plexus, at some point or another, you yourself stop being a runner because life gets in the way, or you
Absolutely.
get comfortable, and then you snap back to it and you realize that at the end of the day, you have to be that example, but you almost have to depend on yourself. You can't ask anybody to do anything you're not willing to do or not doing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then, okay, so being a diamond, obviously been blessed financially, and your husband's an emerald. So talk to me about something fun and just that you've been able to do with your diamond salary.
So for me, our house is my fun thing. I never thought I would get my white, siding house with the black shutters that was on the, land, and it is a dream come true. And I never forget that. Every day I look around and I'm like, I can't believe this is my house. I just love it. I love it. And I love that we have a house that fits our 5 children. So that is my biggest Plexus splurge, is the house we built.
Well, I think that's one of the best splurges, because it's
absolutely
make memories and build a life. And I think that's so very perfect. I'm trying to, sorry, here, I'm not going to mute you. I keep getting some feedback, but everybody's muted, so I don't know where that came from. So last question. Congratulations on Super Saturday, by the way.
Thanks.
Heather is going to be speaking in Orange County with Celeste in January. And so I want to ask you, why Super Saturday? Why should people that are either on this call live or attending or watching this back, why should they come to Super Saturday?
I think Super Saturday is so different from anything we do corporate-wise. We've got Leaders Retreat and we have convention and then the opportunity of a lifetime meetings. But Super Saturday is different because, one, it's spread out over the whole country. But two, it is just an intense time of training. And that's what it's focused on. At corporate, they spend a lot of time really preparing the curriculum and really working on that for us. And it is 4 hours on a Saturday. So it does take sacrifice, but it's 4 hours of training to really grow your business. And so I feel like you're there with like-minded people. There's fabulous training that they've prepared that no one else has seen before. It's fresh, it's exciting, and it really is always applicable to every level. So it doesn't matter if you just signed up and you're not even silver yet and you don't even have a customer yet. It's still applicable to you, but it's also applicable to someone that's been in it 4 years. I mean, there's always great reminders. There's always things that you can apply to your business. So I just think Super Saturday is absolutely vital for your business if you can attend. I know that this year with the selling out, it's been crazy, but I think it's, amazing. And I think the fact that we have had the response we did, I believe I heard it was last year that had 1,000 or 14,000 total sign up and had 12,000 sign up in the first 2 hours. So that's huge. It's just people are hungry is what it is to me.
It's so amazing. I'm super excited that, to be a part of it, but just to be able, to attend it is pretty amazing. And so, yes, I agree. I think it's one of the best things you can do for your business. I think, those that show up, go up, as cliche as that sounds, it's so very true. It's a cliche quote for a reason. And you get to be in a room with like-minded people. You get to start your business off with a bang for the first of the year, and then you get to take that information back to your teams and apply it immediately. So absolutely. I love it. So I'm going to switch this to gallery view and see all of most of y'all's pretty faces. I get to see some just blocks of some faces. Hi, everyone. So why don't we open it up to some questions? I know, let's see, Tracy asked a question. She typed one in, and she said, would it be helpful to attend the opportunity meeting Friday night before Super Saturday?
I always love opportunity meetings. The thing is, it reminds you what you have, what we have in the products. And then when you hear the testimonies, that's what, I said is what keeps me motivated and keeps me going year after year is the changes in people's lives. And it's hearing something fresh and hearing how Plexus has affected someone else. And it might be in a way you've never known it could. So I think opportunity meetings are fabulous, even if it's just ambassadors showing up at them, because they get to be reminded of the gift they have.
Absolutely. Lori typed in and she wanted to know if you say daily affirmations to yourself, and if so, what would be a couple of them?
So I do my affirmations kind of different. I just speak scripture over myself. So it kind of just depends on what I'm going through. I mean, like speaking at Super Saturday, I am a stage fright person that is terrified of things. So reminding myself that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me would be absolutely something I would speak over myself. When I'm on a plane, I don't like flying. I have, verses that I read over myself. So they're not really so much affirmations as just speaking scripture over myself. That's what I do.
I think that's the best affirmation, actually.
I do too. It's kind of a different, that, yeah.
So sweet. So Brenna asked if you had many young ambassadors on your team, like in their 20s, and if so, how do you coach them to success? And then of course,
Jordan Reynolds is on my team, so she's a great example, of one. I think she's my level 6. And then, we just have people of all different ages. So I feel like, we've got Darlene Cornelius, who's a little older. And really, I think the way to coach someone to success is the same. It just doesn't matter on their age group. It's really just connecting with those around them and connecting with their network and listening and finding out what they need to hear. So I don't know that it's necessarily different per age group. It's just getting them to realize that maybe how they approach it might be different, but they're going to know better how to approach it, because me as a 38-year-old mom of 5 is not going to be able to tell a 21-year-old how to connect with her friends. But she knows, sometimes she just has to switch her mindset and think, what do they need? Are they needing financial freedom? Are they needing, energy? What are they needing? And helping them connect with their peers in the way they would. And a lot of times their networks are not necessarily their college age friends. They're their friends' parents, So, I mean, that's what I've seen with a lot of them. It's not their friends that are the ones that go on to be their runners. It's, the older people around them, us old people.
Who? Old? What?
I
know. It's so funny that you say that, though, because there's so many times that I'm speaking to someone who's, younger than I am. And, I'm always referring, like our age. And then I realize, hang on, I'm about 20 years older than you are. How'd that happen? So anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay. Does anyone else have any questions for us today? Okay. How does your husband best connect with the men about Plexus?
His has been kind of different because he was able to retire from teaching and coaching. So that gave a very natural connection because when all of the coaches were finding out that he was retiring from coaches, they all wanted to know how he did that. So that's kind of been the way he has shared Plexus, was just the fact that he was 35 was when he was able to retire from coaching and teaching. And that right there was an opening for people. And he was skeptical at first. It took him about 6 to 7 months to really come around. It was about the time that I started really outdoing his salary as a teacher that he started going, there might be something here. But he's good about listening to me, when I talk about the products, and then he remembers that. So when he's talking to other people, he shares some of it, or he'll come back and ask me questions like, hey, now what'd you say about this? So it's good. It's good. And he's been great with a lot of my female ambassadors, their husbands, because he has really helped build belief in our industry with them. Just his validation of, yeah, she retired me has been huge for our team. To see that.
For sure. And then Brenna, did the question, I feel like Heather may have answered this, but how did he get to the point of retiring before he had that connection? So was that answered?
That was, I mean, he retired because I hit Diamond. So, I mean, I'm just being honest, you know, when we were looking at his teacher salary at Diamond, I was maybe at about 5 times it. So we had our 5 kids and life was crazy. And we were like, we were making do on your salary and now we're making 5 times that. Why would you keep doing something that keeps you away from us all the time? We absolutely can live on this. We lived on 1/5 of this. So, I mean, we had set a rank and a pay in mind that once I hit that, he would retire. So that's what we did.
Did y'all ever have like a physical like vision board when you were, I know because it went so fast.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know about vision boards, honestly, when, you know, we just kind of would say, hey, if at this, it was more just about like, I'm so practical. It was the financial, like when we hit this is far and above what we need to live on and be fine on. So once we hit this, I think we're good. And that actually for me was just emerald. I had said that, but then, you know, the overly practical side, we had kind of passed that some before we felt comfortable just ripping off that Band-Aid. But no, I didn't even know what they were.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's what's so funny is now we have so much information, right? And great.
Oh my goodness.
Not downing it at all, but you know, when people say something about like the color wheel or whatever, I'm like, we built our business before we even, it's great to have that to connect to for sure.
Right.
And it helps us be more aware of how to, but we still, the introvert and the line rider introvert here, we still built our businesses without that knowledge. And so I think at the end of the day, if I can ask anyone to take anything away, especially from Heather speaking today, is that heart connection is so important. Mm-hmm. If I know anything about Heather, you know, that's one thing I know about her is her genuine. Everything that she has shared with you all today, she is an incredible example of. So, you know, but I do think it really is a amazing reminder of getting back to the basics, and you cannot get any more basic than being your authentic self and speaking from your heart. You know, I tell people all the time, if you're nervous, tell them you're nervous. If you
exactly,
you know, I mean, if somebody tells me they're nervous to speak to me, all of a sudden I am so in their corner. You know, I'm rooting for them. And Heather, you're not on stage, you know, at Super Saturday and anybody's hoping you fail, you know, like they're rooting for you because they're looking at you on stage going, oh, I could never do that. And you're here showing them that they could. So, you know, that's amazing. And then, okay, let's see. Sherry said that she loved the affirmation of never giving up. I think that's huge. And those on this team, they know me well enough to know that one of my favorite characters is Dory.
I love it.
Because she's quirky and because she's a little absent-minded like I am, but also because she's so naive in life that she's like, just keep swimming. You know, at the end of the day, just keep swimming. And I absolutely love her for that, you know, because when the going gets tough, you just keep swimming, people.
Exactly.
Let's see. And then one last question we'll take, and it's from Sweet Charisse. She said, and her last name is Sweet, so that's kind of funny, right? Anyways, top tips for organization with staying on track at keeping in touch with customers and ambassadors.
All right. So you said be honest. I'm a hot mess. I am not organized. I do have my planner, and it's called a purposeful planner. You can't really see it, but it's thick. So I'm one of those people, if I don't write it down and if it's not staring at me in the face, I forget it until about 11:30 at night when I'm laying in bed. And unfortunately, I'm a procrastinator too. So a lot of times I forget it for about 10 nights in a row before I remember to write it down and do it. So when I'm sitting here during my daughter's nap time, that's when I do most of my work. I try and brain dump anything I need to do and do it right then so that I don't fall into that trap of, forgetting. But I'm not going to be your perfect example of a type A organized person that has a system, because unfortunately I don't have a great one. I have several team members that have really great systems. My cousin Kendall, she's an Emerald. She has a fabulous, it's actually a system that someone else built. Oh my gosh, I forgot her name, but it's a daily IPA worksheet. And Kendall faithfully does that every single day. And it has done wonders for her business. And she has really trained her team to do that. So it has everything from, reaching out to people, following up with a team member, following up with a customer, all of those things, following up with potentials. And she does it daily. I'm not organized enough to do that. But if you are the personality that would be, that worksheet is a great thing to have. And I can send it to Rainey if anyone wants it.
Well, so let me show you. This team loves the IPA worksheet.
Oh, it might be the same one.
Yeah, we love it so much that, hang on, I'm looking for, I had stacks of them printed out. And so we got our team super organized. We call it
that's awesome. See, that's perfect.
Empire builder. And so it just, keeps people on track with their appointments and their tasks. There's a task, and then the 5-3-1 to help keep you on task. And that's, I think it's important to remind everyone too, and this is something we've covered on other calls, but I hope Heather will validate it as well. And think back, on your journey to Diamond. Mm-hmm. Would you agree that you did way more than 5-3-1?
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
5-3-1, I think, is a great starter. It's a great, place to keep you organized. But if you're on a road to making this really your full-time job, that this is your retirement plan, that this is the place that you want, you see yourself in Hawaii, you're going to have to do way more than 5-3-1 to, be what I would consider, at the top of the company. So that's just the reminder I like to put out there because.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I think along the way, we've preached 5-3-1 so much that there's some people that are super literal that they go, oh, with my 5-3-1, I'm good.
Yes.
Now on to the next thing,
And that's the thing I'll say with Kendall is, she has that, but then she has other names written down, so that she has added to it. And sometimes she's worked through that sheet twice in one day. So, and it's shown, it showed in her business. But I think for me, since again, we didn't have all of those tools and we didn't have that and we didn't know that, when I looked back, because people were constantly saying, what did you do? What did you do? So I'd have to think, okay, what did I do? I realized I did a lot of things accidentally right. And it was just by going with what felt natural to me. Troubleshooting with people felt natural to me. I wanted them to love the products. And so following up, that was never something anyone told me to do. I just did it because I wanted people to love the products. I wanted them to keep ordering. I wanted them to want to join my team. I wanted them to have success. So I did that frequently, not to a point that would annoy them, but just, very much followed up. And then I used any little opening to follow up with people that had shown me interest. And then just like I said, the connecting, sitting at ballet, I would just sit there and talk and then friend those people and they would watch me on Facebook and it would be a conversation starter. So a lot of those things we just did and we didn't even know we were doing it right. So it was just kind of stumbled into doing it the right way.
That was the accidental perfect formula, but
exactly.
I think again, it just goes back to doing what comes natural. But also for us, realizing that maybe sometimes the common things aren't so common and that we do have to kind of step back and share and go, oh, no, we followed up. And,
yes,
I tell people, for so long I built my business on Facebook. And then I realized I had to say, Facebook was a tool.
Yes.
And I attracted a lot of people via Facebook. But make no mistake about it, it wasn't like the Pied Piper, of the World Plexus, and they all just came running. They were like, hey, tell me more. And then I had to tell them more. I had to get, I said this the other day, and it was just one of those epiphany moments. I don't know of a person that I can think of that I didn't have a conversation at least with
Absolutely.
over the phone or face to face, whether it was about the products or the business. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had friends say, "Can we go to lunch?" And then inevitably we would talk about Plexus.
Absolutely.
And
Well, that's how I refer to Facebook, actually. I've realized, and I've tried to now teach people what Facebook is it's a conversation starter. It's not the end all be all. If you're just posting graphics, that's not going to start a conversation. It just isn't. It has to be where they see it in your life. So that's why it's important to friend people, is so they get that conversation starter, but then you have to actually be out there doing life with people to get the conversation going. So they see it. It gives them a topic to talk about when they're with you, because a lot of times they'll be like, okay, so tell me about this Plexus thing. Does it really work? Or, something along, I've been asked that so many times, but it's not, I can't just leave it there on Facebook. I just can't. If I did that, my business would have never grown. But that's just been the thing that's got people talking or helped me to talk to people.
absolutely. Well, such valuable advice. I mean, I'm so grateful for you, Heather, for taking the time out, for kicking your family out of the house.
Hey, I'm happy to do it.
You're like, yeah, that's fine. But but especially on this busy week, on the heels of Thanksgiving, it means a lot to this group, and it means a lot to me that this group would invest the time as well to come and learn more and take away great tips for their business. So later, y'all stay tuned. I will post the winners. And so the daily sheet that I showed you, and that's actually a giveaway for this team when they show up to meetings. So so later on, I will announce the winner of that as well. So, but again, Heather, thank you so much for your time. I will post the recording of this later. And I always have to preface the end of the meeting with the fact that these results aren't typical, that we are not making health or financial claims in any way, that the results that we've shared today are individual and obtainable, but not typical. So thank you all so much for being a part of this. I'm going to end the recording right now.